We're all set? Good, thank you. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is approval of minutes from April 22nd. I read and reviewed them, and they're fine.
Move that we approve the minutes as drafted and reviewed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Okay, do you have any continuances on that? No. Okay, first one is 526 Winter Street. I'm sorry, did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping over, I'm sorry, don't mind me. NACC 14726 Main Street.
So the proposal here is to fence in behind one of the condo units. My only issue with this is we've been trying to get the builder of these condo units to close out his project, which is complete. Still some planting that needs to be done. So typically, you know, we don't issue new permits on an old permit, but we've been somewhat unsuccessful in getting him to close this out. So that's sort of a separate issue, I think. I don't think we should hold up her fence for that, but
I talked to Jen today about it, so we'll probably at some point, if the commission warrants, we are gonna issue an enforcement order for not finishing. Because I
Is the
didn't want,
permit expired?
The order of conditions expired.
If it hasn't expired, we can't issue an enforcement.
well, that's what she was checking, they were checking today.
But I agree, if it has expired and he is complete and he's just not doing it, then it absolutely is a violation.
And it's not a lot of stuff, it's just,
Yeah.
It was either May or June of 2012, so it should, I believe.
He's got 4 years.
It fits into the existing
16, yeah.
so I didn't want to penalize the applicant for a small project on this here.
So let me ask the question, Jen, that the area where the fence is being proposed, are there plantings in that vicinity that this fence would otherwise
No,
compromise?
This is just gravel behind the units. So it's in the 50, but well outside the 25.
All right, and again, we're going to be addressing it only from the conservation perspective. If for whatever reason that gravel area and crushed stone behind the building were for firefighting capabilities and something that another department or another board required, we're not granting permission or undoing that. We're only speaking to the conservation issue itself.
Correct.
I'm all set.
Doug?
No question.
Jack? Okay. Motion?
I move that we approve the small project NACC number 147 for 26 Main Street. Any conditions, Jen, that you would want to recommend with that?
Just, I think I recommend approve as an H, condition for post-construction inspection.
Right.
Last sentence.
Yeah, so let me withdraw that motion.
Okay.
I need to I move that we consider this as a small project subsection H.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And then accordingly, I move that we approve this small project as subsection H as proposed
With post-construction.
with post-construction inspection.
On discussion, I second that on discussion. I think there should be language in this permit that is specific to this unit and this unit only, and it does not detract from the developer obtaining a full certificate of compliance for the balance of the project. Just a statement within it.
Yep.
If we can't issue an enforcement order at this time, I think a letter is at least several. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second for the small project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Hit the wrong one. Next one is NACC 93, 660 Great Pond Road.
So this is for the renewal of Rolling Ridge's farm. Which, if you'll recall, we let them know we would renew their permit annually. They did not farm last year, is that correct? But they're applying to farm again this year. And they have not yet chosen a farmer, correct? Are you working on that? Oh, no, farmer's chosen. Last I emailed, there wasn't a farmer.
Joe, any questions?
No, I mean, same operation as you've done in the past, it's scheduled.
Probably was small.
Okay. And same techniques as far as plowing and harrowing, make sure the runoff is directed away from the wetlands. I'm all set.
Questions? Jack?
Motion?
So what are we doing? Are we extending?
Voting to renew
To
their
renew.
small project permit. We just told them they wouldn't have to file again every year, that we would just renew.
So the consideration of it being a small project, that was dispensed with the last time around. So the motion is to renew the small project permit for NACC number 93 in accordance with the letter and the documentation provided.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Good luck.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Next one is NACC 149 7 Ingle Street.
You maybe not have.
I don't have any paperwork. That's fine, I saw this today.
You saw it, sir. So this.
Needs to be replaced.
This you can see from the photos is a replacement in kind, and it needs it.
Watch it first step.
There's one in here, you said?
I thought so.
It's in the 50.
Maybe I didn't,
It's
maybe I
been in
missed
there.
it.
Thank you.
26. Maybe I missed it.
Okay.
So close to getting dry, right?
So I may have missed this for the display. I apologize.
That's okay.
Deck severely damaged this winter. Half of it has fallen down, as you see from the
It's
photos.
not that
It's
bad.
not that bad, you know, a little duct tape, right?
It's just the first step.
Yeah, it's a big step. So this, the contractor is going to replace it in kind. The deck has been existing since the 90s. The house has been existing since 78 at least. So the deck is there lawfully. It's about 32 feet from the wetland. But the replacement is exactly in kind with the exception of the stairs. You can see in the photos come straight out to the side and into one of the poles, one of the support posts. He's just going to eliminate those stairs and recess them into the existing deck area. So it'll be a slight decrease actually. Everything else will remain the same, and he said he will set the post back and cantilever the deck, so the new posts will actually be further from the wetland than they are now.
Thank you. Joe?
This is exactly what the small project permit was intended to address. I'm all set.
Questions?
Jack?
Does it specifically call out a replacement in kind in the bylaw, in the small project bylaw?
Yep,
It does?
it does.
Okay, then I'm good.
So two motions. First one is that we consider the request to be a type B small project, which is in-kind replacement of existing deck regardless of size.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Right.
That's unanimous.
And the second motion is to grant the permit for NACC number 149 to replace the deck in accordance with the sketches that be in-kind or smaller in size than the previous deck.
With silt sock and pre and post construction.
Pre and post-construction conditions, that's correct.
Thanks.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 526 Winter Street.
Oh, it needs to be read.
Needs to be read.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to be read tonight. I guess we'll have to share this.
Pursuant to the authority of the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, in the North Andover Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the North Andover Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 10th, 2015, at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall Meeting Room, second floor, located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, for the filing of a request for determination of applicability by applicant Lorraine and Douglas Schmidt to alter land at 526 Winter, map 104A, parcel 80, North Andover, Massachusetts, for the purpose of installation of a septic tank, pump tank, septic piping, and minor grading within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Plans are available at the Conservation Office, 1600 Osgood Street, Suite 2035, by Louis Napoli, Chairman.
Thank you, Jack.
So this is for a replacement septic system, failed septic system. As you can see, the leach field is largely outside the 100-foot buffer zone, just barely. But the tanks to the rear of the house are just outside the 50. I don't really, I mean, it should be a negative determination. I don't think there's anything really critical about the work in the wetland. There is an enormous brush pile back in the woods on this site, and debris pile. There's bricks and other things out there. That should be cleaned up. There is wetland off-site that's not delineated. Is this the one? Right, this is Winter, yeah.
Yes. Way back.
It's way back, and they did draw up a sketch plan for me and confirm. And I did confirm in the field that it's more than 100 feet. But how it impacts the brush pile is much further back on the left. So I'm assuming it's in the buffer zone. It's kind of hard to tell since the delineation doesn't go that far back, but that's my assumption at this point. And then the wetland as it runs along the side yard doesn't have a 25, it's the edge of lawn. So I recommend some, I believe this is houses for sale, or it's sale pending, so some wetland markers I think would be advised as well.
Okay. Joe?
So the leach field itself, there's a piece of it, or is it a piece of the, if you could zoom in on that?
It looks like,
Is it a piece of the reserve that's in the 100?
it's the limit of the excavation that's in the 100.
So they don't need to waive it from Board of Health? That was
No.
where my question was going.
No.
So they don't, so they're all set with that, okay. So what we have is, a relatively older house, failed septic system, not that unusual. If we've got a historic pile that's massive, I guess I'd like to see some of it taken away that's at least, going to comply with the 25. If it's in the 100 and it's been there for a long, long time, sometimes you cause more disturbance by taking it out. But I haven't been there, I've seen just the photographs.
It's just the photos, and if it stays, it's just going to, the historic dumping will continue.
Continue and increase.
So, I think if they take a good portion of it out and just kind of let it revegetate, it will revegetate. It's not, but I think definitely the debris, the bricks, and, there is a path, like,
I can see
leading
it.
me out there.
Okay. Any more questions?
In the yard area, again, historically mowed, where are you talking about the markers? To regain the 25 or to put them at the limit of the mowing?
Put them at the current limit of clearing on the lot.
Okay,
Because the 25 the house is in the 25.
okay. I see the house, we were obviously going to change anything on that, but I was more concerned with the area out back where the lawn was right up
Yeah,
up
no,
near there.
I think between wetland flags, what is it, it's hard to see, 1 and 7, maybe 3 or 4 markers.
Have you discussed this with the applicant? Do they know what we're talking about right now?
No, we have worked with the engineer, so I have not spoken with the applicant, so, who's the applicant, 526? Yeah. Anyone's here? Okay.
We'll go around the table in case there's
Okay,
other things.
yeah.
Why was this filed as a request for determination and not as an NOA?
Because it's just the tanks.
It's just the tank, you're removing one tank, and you're within the 25,
They're just outside, the new tanks are,
well, not within
yeah.
the 25, but between the 25 and the 50, you're removing an existing tank, and you're putting in a new pipeline. And then the new tank is about the 50 now. Is there enough information on this that you're satisfied that if they follow the plan according as it's drawn,
I mean, they're going to be
you're
working.
happy with it?
Yeah, right off the driveway, they have proposed erosion controls. You know, the tank excavation's usually the least of the work out back with the, you know, they have erosion controls proposed there.
And that's going to be mounded up, that one in the back? Really raised?
Yeah, 142,
Because they're
140.
piping, they're pumping to it,
Yeah, it looks like about 2 feet up,
so it's raised.
2 to 3 feet.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Pumping up a little bit anyway.
You understand that?
Any more questions, Doug?
No more questions?
I have no questions.
Okay.
So let's talk about the pile. What's our expectation of that? So what we have is a condition that probably, you know, over time has become a violation, and we just want it to be put in check at the time of the sale, so the new buyer knows that as well. And, you know, moving forward, shouldn't be an issue, but what are we looking to do? Is it, other than seeing pictures, I don't know how much we're talking about taking out. Is it something that when the septic guy's in there with his backhoe, we can drag some stuff out and?
Well, I don't think we want anybody driving machinery over there. I don't think he could get the machinery back there. He could maybe get a bobcat back there or something like that. You know, in the past, when we've had these huge piles, they've usually just taken out enough to, you know, not make it look like a pile, to restore some kind of existing grade, get the debris out of there, and then, you know, be sure the new owners are aware that that's,
Post it,
we could
Perhaps.
put a wetland marker back there as well.
just so that, you know, it's noticed to them without going through a whole hell of a lot of effort to get it there. And,
I mean, it's some pretty rugged stuff back there. That wasn't done by them, by the homeowners, probably done by somebody that did trees and stuff.
no, you live in a house a long time, and you
I'm not
put it back,
talking
it
about
just
this
happens
stuff, yeah.
over time. I mean, I can see that.
This is all grass clippings and leaves.
And brick,
There's quite a few years of grass.
yeah, and bricks and,
That's where it consists of, the brick is a separate pot.
right, yep.
How do you want to condition this? How do you,
Within an RDA, I don't want to make it too onerous, but at the same time, I want to make it clear in the limited number of conditions we can add to an RDA.
Yeah, I mean, most everything's on the plan, so it's pre and post construction inspection, wetland markers, and then, you know, I mean, we could write an enforcement order if you'd rather, or a violation notice and have them clean it up, if that's preferable.
you can't guesstimate how much. I mean,
I'd like to put it right in the RDA, it's a document that's out there.
I mean, if you want, Jen, I can go out there and take a look at it and figure out what would be reasonable.
Where is it relative to the?
It's back left corner?
Yeah, it's
Over
the
here?
back left corner of the lot. It's beyond where the septic system is proposed, so it's probably out, you know, somewhere, as 13A is going back, it's back there somewhere.
Well, you could condition removal of all the non-organic material, which would be the bricks. All the brush, there seemed to be a pretty good sized brush pile there. Start with
I would
that.
just say till it matches existing grade on each side. You know, it's probably, I mean, a lot of it's composted down, so it's probably a couple feet maybe of material.
Well, I'm sure it is, it's probably better off.
Take the woody
just to
stuff
leave it
out,
there.
level off
Yeah,
what's
the-
there, and just let it go natural. Is that what I'm
So-
hearing?
What about the bricks?
Remove
Well,
woody,
bricks are a given, yeah.
remove woody and debris. Spread organic.
It's like scatter the wood around. I mean, don't they use that for critter?
And return to
Critters like to
natural
live in
state.
But not, I know, but we don't let homeowners do that within, close to a buffer
And you're
zone.
gonna designate the flags, the signage.
I can tell you, we sell the wetland markers, and you can put them on existing trees, or if we need to put one on a post or something, we could do that as well. But we can
That
help you
stuff
with
to
that.
compost, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that stuff is not a problem.
It's just
You had the wetland back there.
Long run, it'll
Yeah.
disappear.
back there.
We just wanted to get,
Just
we're not
stays the same height every time.
penalizing you, we're just saying, before someone new comes in, you should get some of that out of there so it doesn't continue.
Okay.
A lot of discussion, I haven't had a motion yet.
I know, I'm waiting. Like a motion.
All right, so I move that we issue a negative determination with the following conditions: pre and post meeting and inspection, the removal of the non-organic debris from that it's within the buffer zone to outside of the buffer zone, and the remove.
Off-site, we don't want it outside the buffer zone either, just off-site.
All right.
Well, he's gonna be holding, he's probably, are you gonna have the contractor, the septic contractor do this? Is that the plan?
We haven't spoken to the septic contractor, prospective contractors in terms of that. No, this is the first we've heard of this.
Have you talked to, have you been talking to a contractor yet?
We have this.
Who was the guy that you're talking to?
Well, we're talking to several.
Okay.
individual lots and
And they all do this type of other work that we're talking about, so.
Jen, if you,
the configuration of it was designed to stay out of the buffer zone.
Under the driveway.
Yeah, it's really an extensive system with the express purpose of doing that. Our engineer advised, well, you can do something simpler and you'll have to go for an order of conditions, or you can do the design that we have, and it's going to be more costly, but it's going to be likely more agreeable to the Conservation Commission.
if you want, Jen, if you want, when you do the reconstruction, if they're gonna use that
Well,
contractor.
they're saying the new people are in 5 days. Is that,
That's the current schedule, yes. We plan to be here on the 10th, of
Well,
course.
you're putting the septic system in.
We are, yes.
All right, so they're gonna,
they're still, yeah.
so we still gotta go out for pre-construction. If you want.
Sounds like that might be tomorrow, depending on the action we're about to take,
Well, that's fine.
conceivably, right?
Well, they don't have a contract yet. So we're gonna have a
The
pre-construction.
people
with-
moving in 5 days.
We've got proposals, and I was waiting to hear what the result was tonight. Tomorrow night, we have the Board of Health meeting, and wanted to get the result of both of those before we committed to a contractor. But we do have one. He said he's ready to start immediately when I give him if I give him approval.
So if you want reconstruction, you wanna go out there, I'll take a look and.
So, we'll do a field determination when we're out there with your contractor about what needs to be removed, because we have a pre-construction inspection with the contractor. So we could do it then, talk to him then about it if you want to include that in the work. So pre and post removal of non-organic and woody debris off-site, and then spread
And then
organic.
level out the composted material, and then mark that area as protected wetland area.
And most of the contractors you mentioned, I know, so they'll work with me, so.
And then markers along the front part of the site as well.
That's correct. It's about the limit on an RDA. but
Okay,
I think
yeah.
we're there.
We're there.
Now all we need is a second.
You need a second?
Seconds.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
So a negative is a good thing.
Negative is
You don't want a
positive.
positive.
No. Okay,
All right.
all set. Okay, next one
Is
is
that you or me?
625 Boxford Street. Let me see one, too. I remember this one.
Pursuant to the authority of the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the North Andover Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the North Andover Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 10th, 2015, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Meeting Room, second floor, located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass., for the filing of a request for determination of applicability by applicant Jacqueline Barry to alter land at 625 Boxford Street, North Andover, Mass., for the purpose of installation of a fence within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Plans are available at the Conservation Office, 1600 Osgood Street, 2035, by Louis Napoli, Chairman.
Thanks, Jack.
I'm just reading these notices as written. It's the 10th. Today's the 24th, so
Oh,
Should
well,
it?
it was automatically continued when the meeting was canceled.
automatically continued. So keep reading them the 10th?
That's what the ad says.
We can also waive the reading if there's no abutters, because we have a lot of these tonight, so you might want to think about that.
Even if you know about it,
Sounds like
why do we
a
have to
brilliant
read it?
idea.
Why do we have to read it every time? Just notify them.
To open it, when it opens.
You don't understand that, you just have to
We don't read them in Ipswich.
indicate that the thing was posted in the paper.
Yeah, well,
They already saw this.
Because if they're, what is it here? So what do we
I don't know if there were photos last time.
I know. I don't
So you
like
saw this
procedure.
last time, when Heidi presented it, and because it was in the 25-foot no disturb zone, you wanted a waiver request and an RDA. So I believe you have the waiver request and the plan. I went out and confirmed the location of the wetland, so you see that on the plan, as well as the proposed fence line. And I believe you put distances off to the right as to how far each of the flags. So at the least, it looks to be about 7 feet, and at the most, it's about 17 feet. But that is the limits of the existing yard.
Any questions?
I have none.
Doug?
No questions.
Jack?
No, I don't have any questions either.
Okay, motion?
First would be to approve the waiver as requested.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And then the second would be to issue a negative number 3 determination. We're saying
And you got a number 6, what's number 6?
negative, we usually only do 3 for in the buffer zone. Number 6 is actually saying that it's not require a filing under the bylaw. I've always hated the wording of the RDA because it says it's not subject to approval by the commission, and we often put conditions on it, but I've been writing it now to say with the attached conditions, so it's a 3 and a 6. It's just one of those things, it depends on how you read the RDA form. We're talking, number 5 is for exemptions, but it appears there are only exemptions if they're in the resource area, not the buffer zone. So it's always one of those, choosing the number is almost harder than having this discussion, so. But I think 6 needs to be checked, or actually it hasn't been reviewed under the bylaw. So 3 and 6 with wetland markers on the fence.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, next one.
Okay. We can get you the wetland markers. We sell them at the office. So. We'll write it up and get it to you tomorrow or Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I say something on the 625 Boxford Street applicant? I just want to say what a pleasure it was to work with Heidi and Jennifer through this whole process. I really didn't know what I was doing. They were extremely helpful, extremely professional, and they're really a credit to the town. So I just wanted to say that publicly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, because they represent us very well. But I also want to say that they're equally tenacious to people less lovely as yourself. And if somebody is out there violating, watch out, they'll get you. And that's for the public who at home may think they're a pushover, because we know that's also not the case. They're good professional people.
Thank you. Okay, so next, are we going to waive the reading on
Yes,
postman's?
yes, we are.
Okay. So this is for the Department of Public Works. I can find us our plan.
There's no file number, right?
Hasn't been issued yet.
Oh, that's been issued?
No, Coachman's is an RDA.
Oh, I did.
Yep, so this is actually exempt under the new,
Utilities.
the new utilities exemption for work in pavement, mind you. Once you get out of the pavement, you are no longer exempt, but their work is in the pavement, and so it's exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act, so this is a bylaw-only request for determination. They propose erosion controls. The wetland is not exact, but it's no closer than what is shown, and that's it. The current water line is something like at 15 feet down in places, and when they have a leak, it's a serious problem. So they're proposing to bring it up to the standard of 5 feet of cover over the water line. So this would be, this is actually not a number 3, this would just be the number 6. And then with just pre and post construction inspection, I think we're good.
I know they're exempt. I mean, I have a problem with it because,
Well, they're exempt under the act, but still under the bylaws, it's jurisdictional, which is why they're here with us, so
Hi.
I think anything we have for questioning is still fair game, like dewatering
That's
and
my first
soil
question.
stockpiles, and those things are still fair game under the bylaw.
I'm just worried, like I said, Coachman Lane is wet.
They have plenty of room to dewater out of the buffer zone, but I can make sure, I'll put a dewatering contingency
At
in.
least a dewatering plant, stockpile, they're gonna put it in the roadway anyways.
So what do we know? Are they abandoning the deep main, and they're gonna pick it at the reasonable, and they're not gonna go down to the 15, they're just gonna put the,
They've already installed
Already
outside
started.
of the buffer zone.
Out of the buffer zone, it's just a continuation.
right, but they're not gonna dig out the old main down deep, they're just gonna abandon it in place, so they're not gonna get that deep.
Right.
Understood. So it's not as much of a concern for dewatering, it's replacing at the same depth.
I wouldn't rather have it.
Hmm?
Wouldn't rather
Oh,
have
we
it.
have to
Because
know-
five feet.
to know what they intend to do, sure.
5 feet's gonna be wet.
So they've already started working?
I don't know if they asked if they could start
asked if
outside the
they
buffer
could.
zone,
They did either.
and so they may have.
I mean, so you don't know yet. I was gonna ask you, is the project running smoothly and clean so far, from
I
what you've
don't
seen?
think they're out there yet.
I don't think they're out there yet.
No.
I just saw Tim, but I didn't ask, so.
I know they asked, what was that 2 weeks ago they asked, right? So,
I'm all set.
oh. Jack?
Just to verify, 8-inch out and 8-inch in. They're replacing an 8-inch with an 8-inch.
I don't know what's 15 feet down, but they're proposing 8-inch here. I'm assuming,
This is where we need Al, because he knows this area historically, because he grew up in this area. I think that was a cross-country main before there were houses, and then when the road came in, there was some fill that came in and brought the road up. So as a result, the utilities just ended up getting driven that much deeper.
Yeah, I think it says on
yeah,
that plan,
it is
8-inch.
8-inch cast iron is
Right.
what's down there.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm all set. No more questions.
I think even Phil could have helped us on that one. I'm sure he was out there.
Really?
I'm sure. You worked out in Coachman, Phil, didn't you? Did you worked out in Coachman's lanes and stuff, no? Yeah. 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 Thought so. I know. All right.
35 years, 30 years.
If there's any more discussion or motion?
Well said.
Yeah, I move that we issue a negative
Number 6, yep.
number 6 determination for Coachman's Lane.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 479 Salem Street.
This is also one that would normally need to be read, so are you gonna?
We're waiving
waive
that,
it?
yes.
Okay. So this one is a 12 by 12 deck to be added on to. There's a sunroom and a deck already there. They're adding this on to the side. The previous, yeah, 479 Salem. The previous sunroom and deck were done under an RDA back in like 2003, I think. The only thing with this one, and it's an RDA because of the size of all of it cumulatively, is over 300 square feet. The only thing with this one is we know the wetland, which extends to the neighbor's property, is potential ephemeral pool, which was discovered back a couple years ago when the neighbor did a septic system. So that would make the setback 75 no build. The closest point of this deck is 73 feet, and the contractor and homeowner, I had already let them know that there's a 75-foot no build because we know it's an ephemeral pool and that you may require them to cantilever and set the post back. That would not be an issue. Other than that, there's no erosion controls needed, just wetland markers at the existing tree line. The applicants were actually coming tonight, but they had an issue with a child that took a fall, and they actually snuck in, and I saw and she asked if they could go, and I said, yeah, he had a big egg on his head.
Questions, John?
No, I have no questions. So they can comply with the 75 setback so long as they cantilever, and we're going to condition it, they won't be surprised by it. I'm all set.
Doug?
No questions.
Jack? Motion?
I move we issue a negative number 3 and number 6 RDA for 479 Salem Street.
With wetland
With-
markers and post outside the 75.
Yes, in the cantilever.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 622 Salem Street. We'll waive the reading.
So this one, so this house was built in 2005, approved, had an order, has certificate of compliance. The plan's a little busy because it's the older plan, but the wetland at that time was further back. There's an existing block wall. It's like literally cement blocks. It was outside the 25 then. There's a new homeowner, they just bought it last year, and they want to put up a fence just along the back wall. They're not even fencing the whole yard in, just along the back wall. But upon looking at the wetland, it was actually redelineated for the previous homeowner who did a small addition a couple years ago. So we knew the wetland was further up. So the new wetland line actually puts that existing wall in the 25. So they've submitted a waiver request. The stone wall is at the limit of the existing yard. There's wetland markers out, but they're actually going to be behind the fence now. So I would recommend new wetland markers on the inside of the fence. There's no digging. The posts are actually going in the holes of the block wall. So they're not even digging in the ground, really. But they've asked for a waiver because they'll be in the 25.
Joe?
Okay, I understand the request, and I understand the need for the waiver, and it makes sense. We've got a physical barrier by the retaining wall to begin with. so I have no particular issue with the fence being on the upgrading side of the wall. I do want them to rethink putting the fence posts in the block, in the hole, quote-unquote, the holes of the block wall, because any sort of snow or any sort of wind, that thing is just going to topple right over.
Yeah.
You're much better off driving it into the soil.
We have people here.
So I'll be constructing a fence for my friend, he couldn't make it. But we're actually putting rebar, concrete, and then attaching it to the rebar or angle iron, so it's actually slightly above the block wall. So it will not have any of that sort of issue of snow getting in and rotting it out.
So is the wall a gravity wall, or is it a masonry wall that's reinforced now?
It's not reinforced, it's just block.
Just a block sitting on top.
Correct, it's like 3 layers of block.
I would think it'd be better putting the posts in the ground,
Posts,
as they
drive
normally
them
do,
behind
behind the wall.
Drive them into the soil.
Not,
That whole
don't let
block
the
wall's
wall
gonna tip
support it,
over.
because it's not designed, the wall's not designed to do that. The wall is, how tall is the wall? A couple of feet?
It's only 2 feet.
Yeah, so that is basically freestanding, there's nothing behind it, it's one block thick. So it's got no support to, you've got to put a fence up there, you have the potential with a strong wind or something, putting a torque onto that wall, and it's going to lift that top block off and blow it away.
We've got 3 engineers and a contractor up here having this conversation with you guys.
Well, I know, I work in civil engineering, he's a mechanical engineer, so we kind of have
So
a
we're talking about the
conversation
overturning moment in the block wall that's unreinforced laterally, never mind vertically, but what you might cast in it. You need to tie that whole thing together as a uniform, homogeneous, reinforced structure, and by doing only individual cells reinforced, that whole thing's still going to tip over. It's just going to tip over in unison, leaving teeth behind. So our goal here is, remember, we're talking about a waiver because it's close, and our goal ultimately is to protect the wetland during the construction, and then, any future issue that might come out of it. And, wall tipping over, which was likely to happen towards the wetland, is something that we can't let happen. So I think, I'm going to say that a condition will end up being that the posts be driven into the soil, upgrading of the wall and not,
Upgrading of the wall,
yeah.
Okay,
I think you'd be better off.
all right, well, we were just trying to,
It's actually easier.
we were trying to not disturb anything because we're 10 feet
Yeah.
away from one of the flags.
So, like I say, if you,
This is a solid fence, it's going to have
It's
a
just wood stockade.
stockade fence.
So it's a sail. It's going to grab every ounce of wind and snow and,
Yeah.
yeah.
and so putting it in front of the wall, you're not going to disturb anything anyways. You want to put it in front of the wall, right?
Upgrading of the wall.
Upgrading to the wall,
Right.
to the house side of the wall.
Right. Okay, any more questions?
That's all I had.
Can the fence be placed at 25 feet from the wetland at that one spot?
There's several spots where it would be in the 25 and it would,
Yep. I know, there's 20, there's 13, there's 10.
it would, the yard itself, the existing lawn is not large to begin with.
He has plantings all along the top of the wall. We're trying to protect that. We have there's Japanese knotweed that's just invading the yard relentlessly, and it's been killing it literally. So that was the main purpose for us putting the fence up in the first place, wanting to put the fence up.
Keep it from being as ugly.
Keep you from looking at it,
Keep
but
it from looking at it.
it's gonna start sprouting under the fence.
Cut it and put the poison in it.
Well, it's just, there's so much of it behind, right behind the wall, so he can at least block it.
Continuous
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Then he can deal with what's little on his side, he can at least, it's more manageable.
Get his plant beds back.
Okay, there's no more discussion, have a motion?
You satisfied with the answer?
Not really.
Oh. What don't you like?
Well, normally we ask for fences to be outside the no disturb zone, and this is a previously disturbed, but it looks like they have an opportunity to put it there. So that's the question I'm asking.
Yes, it's currently a wall and it's planted along the wall, so his plantings and things that are existing in the yard would wind up behind the fence.
That was
He has a
part-
garden bed all along the wall.
I wrestled with the same
Would make
concept
sense.
before he asked the first question, and that's where I kind of started out by saying, I understand the request and why they're asking it, and I don't have a problem with the waiver under these circumstances. The way I thought about it was, the wall that is there is serving its purpose to act as the barricade. The movement of the wetland up and the fact that it's thriving is partly hydraulics in the area that probably have changed, but also it's driven by the fact that we have protected that area out back there, and it's done what we wanted to do. So, you know, to penalize an applicant, I saw it as penalizing the applicant now, because we already have a physical barrier of the wall, and this fence is something we would typically want in addition to a wall, and now we're getting it. So that's where I was coming from in agreeing to the waiver.
We approved this in 2006, and gave him a COC, 2005 and 2000. We probably conditioned that wall.
Yeah.
Right, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and I'm saying it served its purpose.
Yeah.
It's done what it should.
So, I mean, I can't, you know.
So the turnaround now, I think it would be I think it would almost be double jeopardy to hold them to the 25 yet again.
Right.
And that's where I would think the waiver makes sense to me.
All right, so why don't you make a motion then?
No, but Jack and I still in
Oh,
debate
Jack,
here.
you're still hashing it out. I'm sorry.
I'm fine.
Okay.
So the first motion would be to approve the waiver, if you're so inclined.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's
And then
unanimous. No? It is
issue,
unanimous? Yeah. I didn't. Okay. So now the motion to approve.
negative number 3 and 6,
So moved.
with markers on the wall, on the fence, sorry. And the fence
And
to
that
be
the fence-
located up gradient of the wall.
Upgraded of
yeah.
the wall and the posts be driven into the soil. And
All those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? That's unanimous.
So who motioned that? Joe?
Joe?
Joe and Doug second.
Doug, okay. Thanks.
Okay, all set, thank you. Next one is Harold Parker, State Forest. Need to avoid the reading.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we haven't been getting our mailings.
I know, I checked with everyone to bring them, I just forgot to collect them.
Tom, you want to come present?
I got these guys.
Do you have your proof of mailing?
Yes, I turned it in on Monday.
Oh, to Donna, okay. So, just get up to our plan here. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, we're proposing a boardwalk to cross the wetland on Bay Circuit Trail in Harold Parker State Forest. And currently, trailers have been using rocks from an old stone wall to cross, and it's dangerous, and this will be safer and also keep people out of the wetland, keep them on the trail.
So the boardwalk design is in here as well. Very similar to what I believe we did under a negative determination for the Farnsworth property for Greenbelt. And we've done some similar work with NEMBA in Harold Parker as well. There is a waiver request. They're seeking waiver of the fees, actually, because PONET, as you all well know, does most of our trail work for us without any cost to the town. So I think it would be wise to allow them to continue their good work without having to pay the RDA filing fee. So there's the, just your,
We also need the volunteers. Volunteerism.
Absolutely, you guys did a fantastic job. Okay.
So, yeah, just to, we did go out and walk the trail and look at the point where the crossing, I mean, basically everything out there is thriving and well vegetated and very wide, so there's no sort of narrowest point to put the boardwalk. I think keeping the trail as close as we can to the existing trail, since you cross from Berry Street across 114 and into Harold Parker here. So keeping it, pretty much in the same location so people aren't having to walk down the road looking for the entrance. And, walking across those stones when they're moss covered and wet and for 100 and something feet just to keep on the trail is a pretty, might be fun if you're like 10, but for everybody else, not so fun potentially. Right.
So standard questions when we're looking at wooden structures. Does this area flood? Is it BBW?
It's BVW.
It never inundates, so
It
concern for
does.
float off and anchorage.
Yeah, I don't think, there's no directional flow. I think it just kind of fills up at the,
And there's a little flow
trickle.
in the center, and that's what we want to span. The ends will be supported on sleepers laid on the ground where it doesn't get that wet. The center section, we want to use pipe with this system we found that has auger tips, so we can just screw them right into the ground.
And then just eyeball over to them.
And that would make it good and solid.
That's what our concern is, just, these structures floating away or, ending up where they don't want to be, or where you don't want them to be. That's,
No chance of this.
yeah, and materials in and out, it's all volunteers. You're carting it all in and cleaning up pretty much,
Yeah,
as you go.
The Appalachian Mountain Club is going to do the work with the youth group, and they'll be doing all the labor, and it's not that far from the road. Have the materials at the road, and then just hand carry them in and assemble it. We'll do as much pre-cutting as we can, so that we just do assembly in the wetlands.
Excellent.
Yeah, Tom, I'm generally in favor of these projects. I just don't have a diagram of I don't have that attachment B or C, but simple questions. About how much of the 160 feet needs to be elevated versus on the sleepers? Just approximately.
50 feet.
Yeah, just about 50 feet.
That's what we're estimating now, is about 50 feet.
So it's
But-
about 50, 50, and 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think once we get in there, we'll be able to determine exactly what the distance should really be. We've just estimated based on worst-case conditions, because we walked this not only with you, but we've been walking it in the fall. We walked it in the spring again to make sure that we were going to span the wet area completely, get people off picking their own way through. So,
Okay.
yeah, it might be a little less, might be more, but that's what we've got right now.
Any fabrication on site, cutting of pressure-treated wood?
There should be no cutting of the wood on site. The only thing we'd need to do is drill holes and to put bolts through the pipes and the wood.
Yeah.
And then all the decking will just be
Okay.
with screws driven in.
I'm all set.
Any more questions? Motion?
The first would be to approve the waiver, and then this needs to be a negative number 2 for work in resource area.
The two waivers, work in the resource area and waiver of the fees, right?
I think number 2 basically says that they will not alter, so by spanning and, there'll be
So we don't need
spaces between
we don't need a
the...
bylaw waiver for that.
I don't think so. We haven't generally in the past because we're not considering it an alteration.
Okay.
The pipes are, not much diameter, so there's
So it's just a waiver of the fee.
fee.
I move that we grant a waiver to the bylaw requirements and regulations for filing fee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And then vote,
I'd like to echo the sentiments about Jennifer, because I don't think we would have been able to put this together in the time span that we did without your help. It was just incredible
I'm not
welcome.
going to let you go anywhere. Sorry.
Two attaboys in one day, Joe.
I know.
Do we need a motion on the RDA?
Well,
We do need
they all belong to Heidi as well. She's wouldn't get it
So I
done
move
without
that we
her.
grant a negative determination,
-2.
-2. And there's no other special conditions. Yeah, no markers, no, I mean, the trail markers speak for
They've
themselves.
covered everything
Yeah,
by
yeah.
presenting a thorough application.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thanks again.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next one is Willow Street. And that must have been already read.
Here's for Heidi.
That's,
This has been continued, yeah.
that was the other one, huh?
So, oops. Need all waivers? So where was it? I don't think, did I put the new Willow Street plan in here? Guess I did not.
That was continued from 2 meetings ago because we had wetland, actually, we had culvert crossing
You
questions,
had
right?
asked for depths to the culverts?
Yeah, culvert crossing questions.
And
So they were-
so I don't know, do we not have a plan? Do you have?
I-
You have not.
Not the revised plan.
I can get it out of my email, but it's probably not just as easy to look at it.
So he's got depths. He has the depths of them to them, and then they put this new construction there. So that then Dave from Comcast is here. Sorry. So this was for the Comcast conduit. Dave from Comcast is here, but you had asked for the depths to the, and how they were going to handle that and negotiate it, and they've submitted a revised plan.
Yeah, and the concern was driven by what we thought the depth of cover was that you guys needed for your utility, and, you know, where you're gonna end up going over, under, or through the culvert, but the concern was to avoid, you know, any impact of any of the three. So I'm looking at we don't have that on the screen. I'm looking at the pair of 24-inch culverts that are on the lower portion of the drawing, sheet 1. You showed 3 feet of cover there, and you were saying you actually needed 3 feet of cover for the conduit, right?
Typically, we go 2 feet to the top of the pipe, but we're going to adjust the depth of the pipe to get up over the culverts.
So you're going to go over the
We're
culvert?
gonna go over.
And
We're gonna
the
go
other
over.
one is 4 feet of cover, so you're going to go over with no
With plenty.
problem at all?
Yep.
I think it was the only thing that was, we had left open, right?
No, it's sheet number 2.
I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah, I should probably send it for June 10th one. Maybe it's in there.
Be able to get over that one. So there's 4 places they conduit going, traversing drainage. And there's sufficient cover for 2 of them, no problem. And there's close cover for 2 that you're going to adjust to, what we just heard. All set? I'm all set.
Done?
No questions.
Motion?
So it would be
This is going to be
for-
similar to the DPW one. This is exempt because it's utility in the street.
Yep, they stayed in the street, so it's
Yeah, you-
exempt. So it's a negative number, I mean, a positive number 2 to approve the wetland line, and a negative number 3 and 6.
So a positive require a filing of a notice of intent.
A positive also confirms the delineation. A positive number 2 just confirms the delineation. The commission has it's either language in the regulations that, or possibly policy that doesn't allow the filing of an RDA looking for a positive number 2 solely for confirmation of wetland. But in this case, they checked the box to confirm wetland, so we're confirming wetland.
So I move that we issue a positive determination, it's category number 2, and a negative determination under categories 3 and 6. And we're going to do pre and post construction.
Construction inspection.
Yeah, pre and post construction inspections.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is 65 Peachtree.
This is another one that would need to be read, so waiving
We'll
reading.
waive that too.
So this is a deck again. They're adding a deck onto, there's an existing deck there. They're making another deck and adding to it. The total square footage is over the 300, so that's why it's an RDA. The wetland line was reconfirmed based on this plan and is still holds accurate. There are wetland markers already up there from back when this was built. And the proposed deck is about 66 feet, so it's outside the 50, no waivers needed. Didn't see any issues, it's existing lawn out there. Erosion controls will not be necessary for this one, and there's no need for markers because they already exist, so just post-construction actually.
The only thing we want to be careful of is looking at the, I'm sure it's a copy of the as-built plan, might be. Showing the roof infiltrators in that same vicinity, so I think on pre-construction, we would like to have those infiltrators, or at least the drain pipe exposed, to know that we're not going to be impacting functionality. Other than that, the request is fine for me.
Any questions?
No questions.
Jack?
Did you confirm the wetland line?
Yep, we asked the, it's actually the contractor, put flags back up in the locations and he measured off. And I went out and reconfirmed the measurement and that was still accurate. And because it's, toe slope, it hasn't moved. But I did just recently reconfirm that right after the rain and
Okay.
nice and soaking wet by the time I was done.
Okay.
That was a valiant effort.
Yes.
It's not easy to get down in the back of Peachtree.
No.
Well, 66 feet, that, with toe slope, it's probably just fine. Just had to ask the question.
Yeah.
More questions? Motion?
Move that we issue a negative number 3 and 6 determination for 65 Peachtree Lane
Post-construction.
with post-construction inspection.
And on the pre-construction, to verify the location of the roof
Infiltrator.
infiltrator and the pipe feeding it.
Pre and post.
Yeah.
Yep.
Motion made.
Is that a second, Joe?
Second, I'm sorry. All those in
Dog,
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, first one for NOI is 242-1651, and they're requesting to continue. Is that right, Jim?
If I could just interrupt you, they're both very, very.
There you go. That's 3 attaboys.
Thank you.
Are you the
Thank
builder?
you.
I am.
Can you widen that door on your way out so they can get their heads through?
You're the one that's got to deal with all this stuff, not me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jen, when are we going to ask them to get, does
Old Salem.
Old Salem Village want to
Just
keep?
give them 2 weeks. I'll get in touch personally.
Okay. 242-1651, request to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. I wanted to say aye, but I won't. No.
All right, since we have such a limited audience, are we waiving reading of this as well?
Yes, yes. Next one is 242, no number yet, Boxford Street, water line. Oh, there was another continuous? Oh, I didn't have it on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, it just came in today.
Okay,
What's our-
apologize.
Oh, number, what do you use the number?
242, 1653 Boxford Street.
Okay, good evening. Phil Christensen, representing the applicant, Messina Development. This is a water line construction on Boxford Street. And the purpose of this is, as you probably know, Boxford Street, part of it's been paved recently. And from approximately here down to the town line, it has not been paved, and it's been held up for installation of this water line. The purpose of the water line is to feed water to a new subdivision. So what the applicant has done is wants to get this moved ahead so the water line can get in and the paving can be done this summer, so as not to delay DPW in getting the work done. The subdivision has not yet been reviewed by the planning board, so we probably won't get approval for that until maybe September. But the idea is to pick up the water line that's at Brookview, take it down Boxford Street about 700 feet, and then dead end it where we'd go into the subdivision. And that's land Joyce Bradshaw's property. We do have a dewatering pit here, sedimentation control, location for dewatering at that location, and wetlands that are nearby are shown on the plan as well. All the work's in the pavement.
Is there work to connect hydrant? Are you putting in a hydrant, though?
Yes, we're putting in one hydrant that's down here.
Oh, but is it in the buffer zone, or?
Outside the 100-foot.
Okay.
You mentioned that's all on the pavement, the exemption is only for existing utilities, it's not extension of new utilities, right?
I actually think it's new utilities as well, as long as it's entirely within the pavement. I have the, right.
Yeah, I hate to say it, Sonda was only,
I'm pretty sure
Right,
it's all,
yeah.
it's new and old,
I think you're right.
yeah. DEP went all out on this one. Installation of underground utilities within existing paved or unpaved roadways and private roadways, driveways, provided that all work is conducted within the roadway or driveway and that all trenches are closed at the completion of each workday. So the road doesn't even have to be paved as long as it's within the roadway.
And then daily cover. Okay, but it's not a long distance anyway.
It's interesting, because the roadway actually
Yeah.
goes from right-of-way line to right-of-way line.
But yet they say within the paved
They're
roadway.
within the traveled way. That's what they mean.
Well,
within
it
the
says, when
traveled
they-
way.
yeah,
But that's not what they're saying. But
Right.
you're gonna get somebody in here that's gonna put it in
In the
the,
right of way, and it's gonna be right
within the
through the
right-of-way
swamp.
and say, well, that's what the thing says, is within the
it's
roadway.
interesting because one of the other utility exemptions says that you can put it in the shoulder, but this one specifically says within the paved or unpaved roadway.
So what they mean is
The
traveled.
traveled way, right, not, so,
And I suggest that's how we interpret
we'll
it.
wait for the next revision.
And notwithstanding, that's exactly what they're proposing here anyway.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
Are you crossing any other utilities out there where I don't see wetlands crossing lines? Is there a culvert down? No, actually, the culvert's the other side of Brookview.
Culvert in Brookview, and there's a culvert farther down the street.
Farther down, yeah.
We're not going that far.
Okay.
And there's no gas out there at
Well, nothing
present.
out there. This is the
No.
first utility in the street.
Yeah, there's gas farther up, but in this section there isn't, so.
I'm all set.
Just a question, Phil. Now, do you stub as you go along for like the other people, or how does that work out?
We haven't gotten anything back from the water department about that, whether they want the stubs in or not. We did have one neighbor from across the street call, and she would like to have service to her house, so we're working out, just the cost of that for her.
Yeah, I mean, it would
But-
make sense seeing you're gonna pave the road.
Yeah, it would. We just have to wait and see what Tim Millette says, that's it.
Yeah, I was biting my tongue because, honestly, it comes down to the water department. I was trying to keep it on conservation, but,
I would think
you don't want
the
line
water department
connections.
should require it to the edge of pavement anyway, for each house you pass, whether they're on the service or not. They make it a requirement.
It's up to the town, I don't think it's not their obligation.
Well, I understand it's up to the town, but the town should require
But
it.
even if they flexed their muscles and required that, I'm not seeing that anywhere near any of the resources
It all
here.
goes on the other side of the street.
Right.
Yeah, it would still be away from the resources.
That's just my own curiosity, I'm just thinking ahead.
Just one neighbor so far.
Okay.
Well, actually, George doesn't.
I'm not going to give you any trouble. Are you on the Brookview side?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm across the street. Will the road be closed for this construction at any point?
No, it's just, one lane, obviously, but
Okay.
not the whole road.
Okay, I'm good.
Questions, Doug? Jack? Okay.
Actually, you filed with Natural Heritage,
Yes.
so that we have to wait.
Okay.
But we can draft, and hopefully in 2 weeks they'll have gotten us something, or
As you know, we've walked the whole site with Natural Heritage, and
I would give them a call and see if they'll issue that no-take letter sooner rather than later, so we can issue the order next meeting.
okay.
All right, so we need a request to continue.
I'm curious.
Second.
Natural Heritage stands on its own. The Wetlands Protection Act invokes that, the exemption,
There's heritage review under the Wetlands Protection Act, and then there's MISA, the no-take issue. They're entirely separate.
Those are they're separate.
Because they file the notice of intent, they get coordinated review and shorter review. MISA is 60 days, I think. NHESP under the Wetlands Protection Act is 30.
I'm still wrestling with this new change in the regulation. If it's exempt under the act, because it's an exempt activity.
Well, Phil filed. We didn't request this filing, and we didn't give advice on this filing. I think from what he's seen tonight, work in the roadway, probably an RDA next time. Well, the heritage review triggers something different too. I don't know if you're exempt. Are you exempt under natural heritage as well? You probably
We got to
still.
bone up on this. It's got to be an MACC
It's-
conference
Yeah, well,
item.
he'd probably still have to file under MISA and then would be exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act, I think is probably how it would go.
So you get a problem or another.
It's strange because this is coming before the subdivision too, so I think had it occurred all together, then it would probably
Yeah,
be different,
then
but,
it would have been jurisdiction.
right.
I understand. Good. So moved.
Motion and a second already done.
Already done. Good.
All those
Oh,
in
really?
favor say
Yeah,
aye.
it was
Aye.
done now.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Next one is 24216. Can we do both road cuts at the same time? 'Cause this is-
Yep, you can.
And 2421634 and 2421635.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Kenneth Lady, representing the applicant, Royal Crest Estates. And I wanted to come in and give you a brief update as to where we are with this. It's only been sitting on your desk for about 2 months, but
Almost forgot what you look like.
we've been obtaining actual measured flows from the site for the past year. And I recently was able to pull out that meter and obtain the data. So we felt as though this year would be better for us to accurately depict what's happening on the property. And in doing so, I'm still analyzing the data of the flows because I believe that I could significantly size down these two applications that are before you. So that has been my hesitation. Briefly, it was waiting for the stormy season to pass, but we weren't all that stormy in the beginning of the season, so we were hoping to get some good data towards these last few weeks, which I believe we did. And now I just need to generate that data, and that'll help us in a couple of different ways. We'll be able to actually see what the benefit of all the previous work over the past 3 years has done for us for flows leaving the site, and also it'll give us an accurate representation as to exactly how inundated or uninundated those pipes are, what those flows are leaving the site, what storm events they are, and determine determine how many of those roof drains we can tie in that we already have available, and that was pretty much part of our 5-year plan for this year. And then, obviously get these permitted this year, and then the construction of these items would be done next year. That's the plan. So I'm guesstimating, I think I need another 30 days to actually crunch that data, make sure that I know what I'm doing for the design, so that I can decide whether we want to size down these designs or leave them as they are, so that we can tie in all of the roof drains that we've designed for the new foundation drains.
The only thing, I agree with the 30 days, but if you can, keep Jennifer in the loop at the
Yes,
office. So that
absolutely.
we're not waiting at the 9th inning to see if you're coming or you're not coming.
She's, as everybody said, very amazing as a agent. She keeps me on my toes more than I keep her on her toes, so
I'm not at the point of making them withdraw and refile, but I think that's where it's been such a portrait, and I understand the reasoning, it makes perfect sense, and thank you for doing it all.
Absolutely.
I think we ought to renotice.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, just,
Absolutely.
when you're good to go,
Not
renotice,
a
just
problem.
because these poor butters have been coming out month after month after month.
Absolutely. Yes.
But in case they want to come out, at least they know that
No, I
it's
agree.
to be heard.
And again, it was solely so that we could utilize the data that we've been trying to obtain for a year and a half. We started over a year and a half ago with the anticipation that the G train would be done in 2012, but because the winter hit so hard and so quick that year, we didn't actually finish the G train until June of 2013. So it definitely swayed our flows from what we had originally expected.
Do you know your plantings in too? in your
Yes.
Jeep? Okay.
Any questions, Doug? No questions. Jack, you have any questions? All right, so you want to continue to 2 meetings, so what would
Yes.
that be, Donna?
July 22nd.
Perfect. That would be great.
Motion to continue to July 22nd.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next one is 242, 1652.
So this one was waiting for Natural Heritage. They responded, no take, no adverse impact. And they did submit a revised plan, which showed they squared off a patio and changed the location of some stairs down from the deck. But it's nothing significant. Look, it's loading here shortly. So previously, the deck behind the pool wasn't square. It was kind of round like the pool, or oval. And the stairs came down between the two decks. Now they've connected the two, squared them off, and put the stairs in between, one deck coming down onto the other, but, farther away from the well and then the pool itself, so I don't think it's an issue. And they've addressed, I believe at the hearing that Heidi presented this project at, they addressed everything else. Yeah, there's no concerns.
Al was wrestling with the grade and how you got there from the way the stairs were, so he'll be pleased. That was exactly his question.
So it's a closing issue in 2 weeks.
So moved. Second?
The only thing I'm... Is the stuff now? Fairly in discussion. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.
Same with 172 Summer Street. We pretty much just waited on a plan for like a month and a half or so. It shows the 75-foot and 50-foot from ephemeral pool habitat. It had no effect on the project whatsoever. Al really just wanted to see those buffer zones on the plan. And I agree, they should be on the plan, but they're outside of the project even work area. So, but they're on the plan now, and we can close an issue.
Okay.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Doug, Jack.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Yep, Doug and Jack, Donna.
Okay. Next one is 242, I mean, continuances, no. 1624, request for bond release of 56 Montero Way.
this works, I mean, these neighbors, these owners, but I think they're moving out of the country, I think is what I heard. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember
I
that,
think
yeah.
So they can't close out the project because they have plantings that they're monitoring, but they do want to get, they asked for their bond back, but basically we can't do that. We usually give half, so we're holding $1,500. I recommend we give them back $750. I don't think the plants are, at this point, anything we need to worry too much about. They're being monitored, they're installed.
Questions?
This is the one we
So
took
it's
the
a partial
sidewalk
bond
on.
release, it's not, and it's not a CLC.
Correct.
Okay, I'm all set, no questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Doug?
No questions.
No questions.
Motion for partial bond release?
I move that we release 50% of the bond as requested on 242-1624, 56 Montero Way.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Just to note, the 50% is our standard. They didn't ask, they asked for release of the bond.
It's 50% of the, so thus holding, continuing till 750.
Right.
Right. Okay, next one is a modification request for 242-1615.
So this one, there was a in-ground pool that was approved before, and the pool's already in. It's been looked at and reviewed. So they originally had a 16 by 8 shed proposed, and they moved the shed to the right and made it smaller, 8 by 12, and now they're asking to add an 8 by 16 pergola in a similar location to where the shed was originally proposed.
But they're still-
Outside the 50.
And they're still in the same pool footprint.
Yep, and it's within, yep, everything else is fine out there, and it's within the existing fenced area for the pool.
So the attached photograph is a facsimile of the pergola.
That is an idea.
That's not an 8 by 12 shed.
No. That is just the
That
idea
was like
of
my
the
guest
pergola. General idea.
I didn't know you had a guest house. Of course.
Oh, no, where you want to live. All right, so that's the
The
pergola.
applicant's here if you have questions about the pergola, but that was the example she sent me.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, it looks pretty straightforward.
Okay. Doug?
She likes this so
We
much, just
better
letting us
approve
move
it
in.
before she gets further inspired. Except for something else.
Jack, any questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the modification request for 242-1615, 105 Carlton Lane.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. All set, thank you. Okay, next one. 242-1428 modification request for Merrimack condominium. Modification number 655, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one.
He's got two up there.
So we're here tonight because you haven't seen us in a few months, and we knew you wanted to, so here we are. This, I'm going to get away from the microphone, but basically, this is a phasing issue. This is phase 1, this is phase 2. These are both completely built out. This is phase 3, this blue line running around here. And this building exists, this building exists, this building exists, this building exists. And they're ready basically to come in and pave this section out. But this building inexplicably was excluded from phase 3, although it faces this roadway. To make things even more complicated, the manhole sanitary sewer system to serve these two comes in behind this building. So this should have been part of phase 3, and it wasn't. We tried to go backwards ourselves and try and figure out why it was and wasn't, we don't know. But we have utility stubs that need to come into this foundation. When it's paved, normally you come right up to the lip of the foundation with the paving. And so it doesn't seem to not make sense to go ahead and put this foundation in. The wetlands back in this area is buffered by these buildings, so it's really just sort of out of the way there. But that's technically, we need to get your okay to modify phase 3 to include building J. And that's what we're doing. Again, this building exists, this building exists, this exists, this exists. This is all cleaned out. It's just open ground. I don't know if you've been following my weekly monitoring reports, but this is now open. This was stockpile, but this is all gone now.
And that's my recollection of the phasing meeting we had over at Jennifer's office 15 years ago.
When I first started here. Was that it was going to be conflicting with soil stockpile, and that they needed this area, but at this point, it's not needed.
That's
So this is like a phase 3A.
Yeah, well, we had also thought, when we started internally discussing it, that the commission had wanted sort of the same amount of units built per phase, but that doesn't make sense either because...
We would have gone by unit. We weren't going by unit.
This phase has a lot more units.
It was strictly looking at disturbed area and soil stockpile capabilities as you were logging through.
You guys are slowly but surely backing yourself into a shoebox, and we want to make sure you have plenty of room.
But that is my recollection that that's where the stockpile was, right? That's why it needed to be there.
That's where all material was there.
Yeah, so if that's no longer the case, I certainly understand now, it makes some sense.
Stockpile area is now way over here, and it's reduced down to a shadow of what it had been.
Okay.
Because of all the modifications, this is the one I understand right off the bat.
Yeah, because when I first heard it, it wasn't making sense to me, because now I was trying to figure out how you're trying to put utilities in without a roadway in ahead of time. Because, so the two back buildings, Patrick, on the corner, the utilities being fed behind that building? Or are they in that roadway?
The sanitary sewer, there's an existing manhole that's already been built that's right here. And then there's a sewer stub that needs to come in with a manhole, and it wiggles in and it serves.
So it's going to serve all
these two with sanitary.
And the big building that you want to do now?
The big building is also served by this.
Coming into that first manhole.
Coming in from the back.
So that's going to be fed from the rear also?
Exactly.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Okay. Doug? Jack?
That building wasn't facing the other way when you originally proposed it? It wasn't?
No,
Okay.
because
I believe you. It just seemed like that would make sense for
Well, you don't mean
phase
originally.
4. Well, when they phased it out. I'm trying to think of why it would be part of phase 4.
These two units would be looking into the back of this building,
So it wouldn't make it, yeah. Okay, I believe you. I'm just, that was the only thing I could think of. No question.
Okay. Motion?
No, I think Joe is correct. The moment he started talking about the stockpile, that was it. Yeah.
All right, motion.
So I move that we grant the modification request to include building number J into the phase 3. Into phase 3 of the project.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Now, that's the last modification of this project, right?
Absolutely.
Till the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're the only ones laughing. Jen, who has to keep record of all this, is saying, oh my God, here we go again.
I think we're a couple of times around.
Joint effort. Two brains are
I think
better than one.
I think we're putting hash marks and question marks. Z-A.
Well, the question is, what project was done before those two owners passed away?
I don't think I'm going to make it.
I'm not being, I was being facetious, but I was being truthful. It's at least 15 years ago since we first saw this project come into us.
Maybe 20.
At least 15 years.
The high rise might have been 20.
Well, I've been on the commission for, what, 12 years? And that was on when I got started.
That was the third design.
Yeah, I'm talking about, that's, what's that?
Yeah, the office building was
Yeah,
the first one.
that was before my time, but this project has been here since I've been here. And
What's that? Yeah.
if we only knew. All right,
Okay.
we get off that subject, we're on public TV. Next one is 242-1562, COC request for 151 Boxford Street.
So this was, ooh, I'm sorry. This was an addition, farmer's porch, and patio. So the addition and farmer's porch were built. I got word from the monitor, they wanted to stop monitoring, stabilized, got it stabilized. They said they weren't gonna do the patio, and monitoring stopped, and there it sat. So I wasn't aware of any changes till the COC came in. The changes are minor and further from the wetland, fortunately. But the patio originally was gonna be 16 by 22, and because they didn't wanna have to regrade it, they would have had to make a pretty good grade in that corner. So they just did a smaller deck, 18 by 16 deck. It's actually further from the wetland than the patio was originally proposed. There's a small retaining wall at the end of the addition, which you can see in the photos. It's more of a landscape type feature. They did add a propane tank and an AC unit outside the addition, but those are 65 feet from the wetland. So all of it's fairly minor, and everything aside from the changes is in compliance with what was, there's wetland markers, the erosion control's up, it's been stabilized.
So if we were to issue a COC, we would state that the patio was not done, so it's clear that we're not creating compliance on something that's
Yeah, it would
add
state
later
that
on.
a deck was done in place of the patio.
That's all I had, I'm all set.
So you're saying the air conditioner propane tank will after the fact? Right.
We typically allow them as long as they're outside the 50. We usually like if they request them before they actually put
Be
them in.
nice,
So-
Yeah.
that's all, I'm not gonna be critical about it. I'm
Everything
just-
that was done probably would have just been an easy administrative modification, just, I think there was a little confusion about what needed to come to us and what didn't.
Even though we're pretty crystal clear that everything needs to come to
Yeah,
us.
we try to be.
This was a while ago.
So
though,
was subsequent to the monitoring being stopped, or the monitor just not pick it up and?
No, it was
never-
subsequent to the monitoring being stopped.
Yeah, when we
The applicant
submitted
didn't
this
want to pay
one.
anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much how that goes. But, okay, I have any questions.
And it was stabilized, so I didn't continue to go out myself because I wasn't aware there was anything else going.
It's the problem when COCs come in
So
later.
So far
than
down the road.
Jack, any
Things
questions?
change.
Okay, motion?
Motion that we, grant the certificate of compliance request for 242-1562, 151 Boxford Street.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next one is 242-923, 100.
Yep, so this was a 1998 order for an above-ground pool at 100 Campbell Road. This came up recently actually because a sewer connection, which will probably be before your next meeting. And this old order was discovered, so it's being closed out. And the work was never done. I visited the site. There's no pool in the back. They never did anything back there. So this would be closed out as no work done.
Invalid order.
Invalid order, yeah.
No discussion. Any questions?
None.
Any questions?
Motion?
Move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 242-923.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1607, COC request 168 Campbell Road.
So this one, where are my photos? This is the only one I didn't get for this one. Apparently I forgot to print photos for this one, and photos were kind of important on this one. So this one, it was an order, there was an old in-ground swimming pool. They removed the swimming pool and they were gonna construct a very large patio in its place. Aside from that, they had some timber retaining walls that were falling apart and a walkway that needed some help. So they removed the swimming pool components, filled in the swimming pool, which I did watch that whole process to check for clean fill. And it's just was loamed and seeded, so there's no swimming pool there. The only work that was really done aside from that is the retaining walls and the walkway, which were done in kind. Most of the work was pretty far from the wetland. Their wetland markers are up, their erosion controls are removed, and the only thing an as-built would show was just basically that the pool was removed. So they've submitted their COC request with a letter from their consultant, wetland consultant, seeking a certificate of compliance, but without the as-built, given that it wouldn't show the patio since the patio was built.
We can reference the old as-built as in the filing, correct?
What's that?
There is an old as-built?
No, this is
There's no as-built.
there was no, this is an older house, so the plan that they did was a brand-new survey. I had nice photos for you guys showing you how the walls are right where they're supposed to be, but apparently those are the one set of photos I forgot to print before we...
You ask them ahead of time?
Yes.
Maybe because you have a slightly busy schedule,
Just a little.
Not much to do.
trying to do 2 meetings in one.
Yeah, along with a lot of other stuff too.
Is there an as-built for this one?
No, so they were asking to not need an as-built because the as-built wouldn't show anything beyond the pool being removed.
So they didn't change grade, they just took the old timber retaining wall up, put the new masonry one in, but maintained the grades otherwise.
Yep.
And took the pool.
And the
Took the pool
pool,
out.
yeah, the pool
So
was just filled
this
right
letter,
back to the same
and
grade.
maybe a mock-up of the record drawing that reflects that, is what cleans our record up for the future.
We can make a copy of the
Yep.
record drawing and mark it up.
Mark it up, yeah.
Yep, that's easy. And I do have lots of good photos that will be in the file. They just
There you
didn't
go.
make it in here to you, for you guys.
Maybe someday we'll see.
And that would serve as an as-built for our record. I mean, it certainly doesn't meet the bylaw requirement, but at least it'll, when none of us are around and someone else comes in on that lot in the future, it'll be clear what happened. I'm all set.
Doug?
No question.
Jack? Motion?
Move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 242-1607, 168 Campbell Road.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next one is, where am I? 242-1436, COC request for 57 Christian Way.
So this order was issued before my time, so it sounds more familiar to some of you. But it was, the original proposal in the order was for a patio, a deck extension, a fire pit. But one of the big things was filling in sinkholes in the backyard and regrading. Maybe some of you remember it. So apparently there was some sinkholes they wanted to fill in and regrade and try to get rid of some of the knotweed, which we know how that goes. The knotweed came right back. It was plenty of it out there. So there was also a driveway turnaround. The driveway turnaround wasn't done, but the driveway itself was expanded instead. But it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone. They did add a stone wall, which wasn't on the original plan, but it's outside the 25. And the regrading is vegetated at this point.
Where's the limit of lawn? Does it show? Oh, it shows, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
it should be.
Got it.
The limit of lawn and the, what's this one? Yeah. So the only thing about this one is when I made my site visit, there is some erosion control remnants left. There's a bunch of stakes and some silt fence that needs to be taken out. I did leave a message for the homeowner, but, you know, I don't know if you could issue the COC and hold the bond or hold the COC. It's pretty minor, just, it should take no time. They just probably weren't aware. You could hardly actually see it with the knotweed, to be honest. I crawled back there to see if it was gone.
Questions, Bill?
Nothing.
Doug?
No question.
Motion?
The motion is to issue a certificate of compliance for 242-1436, 57 Christian Way, and hold the bond release.
Pending removal of the erosion controls.
Confirmation of removal of erosion controls.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Actually, on reconsideration on that, I think once we vote the issue of the COC, you have to release the bonds. Let's hold both in abeyance.
COC, that's
Hold
what I
them,
was gonna say.
hold them
Never
both in,
hold the
hold them
bond,
both in
hold
abeyance
COC.
Okay.
until we get the confirmation.
Very good. Okay, next one is 242-1422, COC request for 21 High Street.
So this is the one I'm waiting for. You the order of conditions on the pond and ask them to be moving forward with a COC request for the East Mill. The issue out here has been the same for a while now. The restoration plantings along the bank of the pond have been mowed, and some of them didn't take. So Julie's here to present you with the next step in the process.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Julie Monroe, here on behalf of RCG LLC to initiate the request for a certificate of compliance. Today, Jen and I, we did meet out on the site. I've been working on the project since 2008. I was the environmental monitor for the project during construction. The project was for parking lot activities, stormwater management activities. The project also included construction of a wear outlet structure and a water intake pipe and some bank restoration, but that portion of the project never was taken place due to it just wasn't feasible at the time after it was approved. So that part of the project has never been completed, nor will it be at this point in time. Again, as Jen mentioned, we had a pretty substantial buffer zone restoration plan out there. The pond just bank, you know, the upland banks have been maintained for many years. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic. There is a stone dust gravel path that's always been around the pond. So over the years, we have kind of revised the planting plan. To date, you know, we have some survival out there, but we do have some loss. So as part of this initiation process for the COC, I'm recommending yet another, probably last effort of some additional plantings out there. Chokeberries seem to be taken well along the top of bank out there, so speaking with the client, Dave Steinberg, who's also here this evening, he has agreed to initiate an additional planting plan. You can see, actually, in Jen, I have a revised planting plan I'll give to you tonight. So we're just going to recommend a few more chokeberries, some gray dogwoods. There's one particular area, I think, a good recommendation for a red maple tree along the top of bank there. Again, site is stabilized. Site has been maintained, the stormwater inspection reports. Jen, I also, I went to the engineers and I pulled the last couple of years, just in case they weren't submitted to you. I do have them here for you, so I will submit those to you. So at this time, Mr. Steinberg is going to move forward with the plantings. Also talking today with Jen, there as the 25, well, the buffer zone marking posts are out in the field. And there's going to be a recommendation to put 2 more out there, just kind of along that pathway. So I've added that to the COC request letter. And also there's one little patch of Japanese knotweed along the top of the bank. It's a small little patch, so I'm going to recommend we pull that on out and maybe do a carefully applied herbicide application, just so that doesn't spread along the banks in that one particular area. That shouldn't be a significant effort for that. Jeff, here's the last several years' reports.
Thank you.
And also the updated letter, and I'll send that to you. So at this time, we're gonna, we just wanted approval of that little mini revision, so, to those plans. We're gonna move forward probably in the next week or so, several weeks, getting those plants on in, and speaking with Jen, hopefully end of summer, end of growing season. If we can ensure the plants are gonna survive, we'd like to then proceed with our certificate of compliance request. And I'm going to make sure they're planted properly and watered properly throughout the summer to ensure their survival.
Joe, questions?
So we don't have to deny the COC request, just going to continue it. I'm all set.
Just a quick question. We still have an outstanding order on the other side, right?
No, they got a new order on the other side just recently to demolish a portion of the West Mill.
Right.
And put in new parking, stormwater management. They're unrelated, though. They're separately owned properties.
Okay. Okay, I have no questions.
No questions.
So you guys are clear on what's being planted and when do we expect to?
When do you want them to look at so these plantings, I guess what they're requesting is that they not be monitored for another 2 years, that we try to close this out come the end of the growing season, maybe October at the latest.
I don't see a problem.
Second meeting in September, first meeting in October.
I could see not holding up compliance for 2 additional years for monitoring, but I think monitoring itself is good, and if they just gave us a monitoring report, and if we find there's a problem, we could require an action through enforcement or whatever, on survivability. Because it sounds to me like, they're doing the right, well, it sounds like a combination of things. They're doing the right thing, selecting the plants and planting them. Sounds like there may be aggressive landscaping going on, and maybe some other stuff what's that?
A lot of traffic, too.
Yeah.
There.
Vandalism in the area, too, I've had problems with.
In the end, it's, none of that's our problem. Survivability, at least 75% survivability is what we're looking for. And I think we want to know that in the end. But I agree, not holding the COC up for the additional 2 years. Any thoughts about just getting a report filed with us a year, that goes through 2 growing seasons? We normally want 4, right?
We usually do 2 full years of
2 full years,
monitoring.
like 4 growing seasons, like the spring and fall seasons.
So what did you recommend? You want to wait till fall?
Just to make sure that they survive the summer, that they get the plants in, and that, they don't all crisp up and die over the summer. That, come the fall, the plantings are in, and then, as a condition of the COC, I guess we could put in some ongoing monitoring. I mean, they're supposed to probably submit stormwater. I didn't write this order, so I'm guessing there's some requirement to submit stormwater monitoring on a continuing basis.
But that would satisfy the order of conditions in October, roughly.
Continue to the first October meeting.
That's what we're here for.
Does that work for you?
Is that okay with you? And Jen, we'll let you know, too, when the plants are in the next several weeks or so.
So, is there a motion to that effect?
So we'll move to continue.
October 7th.
October 7th?
242-1422 COC request till October 7th.
Okay, we have a motion and a...
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Done.
Next. Next, unanimous.
All
Thank
right.
you.
just continue those reg revisions, because I haven't even had a chance to talk to Lisa.
Yeah, well, based on 2 pages. Okay, we have a couple.
I brought mine tonight.
Did you really? I did. Oh, my God. You're really an optimist.
I'm so glad to continue with that.
There you go. First enforcement order is 105 Massachusetts Avenue.
Yes. So we're just requesting, they said within 30 days, so they have not removed the entire pile. Some is gone, though. I was by there today.
Some of it is gone, but not.
So they're asking to continue, on June 8th, they requested another 30 days. So this would give them to the July, is that their meeting on July 8th? I think it is. So the July 8th meeting.
The Lawrence side of it?
No, it's right at.
It's the old landscaping, Desmond's.
Desmond Landscaping.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's there was a mountainous pile of fill back there. They had kind of taken everything from the site and pushed it into the back, which happens to be floodplain.
Sure.
So they're taking it out.
We have to look at it some more, because like I said, I grew up there. And what happens, they leveled off the area. So along the banking of 93, there was, 495, there was a swale. So the water would sheet flow into the swale, into the river. Well, they leveled it. So what's happening is the bottom of Elmwood and Maywood is flat. So instead of the water sheet flowing into there and going into the swale, now it's just sitting and backing up.
So I'm going to, when I let them know that we're granting them an extension, I'll arrange to have a site visit when the work is complete.
Right.
Okay.
No, because this way it puts some permanent barriers in the middle, let it revegetate the back the way it was, and hopefully the water will start to leach into the river instead of sitting there like a pond. Because the area's gotten huge. So, okay.
So continue with the site visit to July 8th.
Okay. July who?
Or extend their amount of time to do their restoration
Yeah, I'll
to
be
July
back.
8th.
What's that, a Monday?
It's a Wednesday. It's our next meeting in July.
No, I'm trying to think how I'm probably going to be here. Okay.
Do we have a motion? Second? Or are we just, it's enforced, well, I guess
The
for
enforcement
motion,
orders are going to do anything, right?
we're extending their
Yeah.
time to do the work.
All right.
You're
We're
because.
changing the enforcement order date,
Okay.
due date.
Do you need a motion to
Yes.
extend the deadline stated in the original
Correct.
enforcement order until now, July 8th?
Correct.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Joe, Doug.
Joe, Doug.
The next two are just vote to ratify. You asked for these at the prior hearing with Heidi, and she's issued them. You're just ratifying.
Okay. First one is 136 Old Farm Road.
I move that we ratify the enforcement order. How's that?
I'll second that one.
All those in favor say aye.
Doug,
Doug. Yeah. We're just doing the Joe.
like it here.
We're doing the Joe Doug show.
It's so warm and cozy.
Every now and then we'll trip Donna up, though. Is
And the next one is 209 Vest Way.
that a ratification, too?
Yeah.
Jack made that motion.
Second.
So no, it's Jack and Doug.
Just gonna make you pay attention, Donna.
Okay. We just want to make sure everybody's here.
On the enforcement order question, I don't know what I'm seeing. It's probably legit, but I'm driving down Great Pond Road from like 130, from 125 heading towards Brook School, looking to the waterfront of Bonnie Lane. Has someone gone insanely crazy cutting trees in there, or is it just?
I saw that.
Yeah, on Bonnie Lane.
I'm in Great Pond Road, and I'm looking at a horizon that never used to exist in there.
Yeah, our harbor master has brought that up. We have a whole report.
I don't know what is going on, but it's like acres, it seems.
Yeah,
See, as soon as they get rid of Deb, it all goes to hell.
Yeah, original harbor master is all under control.
All right, so you're aware of it and you're pursuing it.
I think I might not have printed it.
Okay. We have a decision.
So you're aware of it?
Well, I don't know specifically which one, I'll have to go back and start looking at historic arrows. No one's done anything that we can see, like, clear cutting.
It's not clear, I can't tell what it is, but it looks like they've raised canopy, pruned a bunch of trees, but when they do that, they typically will pull all the scrub out underneath it. But I'll tell you, looking from Great Pond Road across the water,
Bonnie Lane.
half a mile, you can see properties you never used to be able to see before.
All right, we'll have to check that out. Yeah, that I'm not aware of.
Well, take the company helicopter and go check it out.
Does anybody have their order of conditions for Brooks? 'Cause, I mean, for 172 Summer, because
I don't.
I don't.
Doug does. Because Donna didn't put them in the packet.
I can go make copies.
Nice
So-
going, Donna.
Well,
Check it out with Doug.
I can go make copies.
You need Doug's copy to work from, or?
Well,
You can
just-
follow along.
It's been a while, so I don't know what I wrote. Like I said, it's been like 6 weeks. So I'll
Tell us
kind
if
of,
everything is in order, and then we'll...
I'll do the highlights of review here. This one was pretty, they met all of the requirements.
Oh, yeah, we were waiting for the new plan,
The bond is $2,500. This is the construction of kind of the freestanding garage. You know, there's,
We just got the revised plan.
yeah, perpetuity of maintaining their, I think they have a roof drain. There's a foundation as-built required. No dewatering. No stockpiling within 50 feet. No herbicides, no dumping.
Sorry, touch on.
I think we're good to go.
Oh.
So motion to approve as drafted?
Second.
So moved.
4 or 5 miles off
You
East Dennis.
moved, Doug seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.